You are 19 years old. You play rugby for a university team in Uruguay. You are not famous, you are not special, you are just a young guy who loves the sport, loves his teammates, and is excited for a trip to Chile for a match. On October 12, 1972, you board a small charter plane with 44 other people, teammates, friends, family members who came along for the ride. Your coach is there. Some of the guys brought their parents. It feels like a holiday more than a journey. People are laughing, throwing food at each other, talking about the game ahead. You find your seat, buckle in, and look out the window. That is the last normal moment of your life for the next 72 days. The plane is a Uruguayan Air Force Fairchild FH-227. It takes off from Montevideo and makes a stop in Mendoza, Argentina. The original plan was to cross the Andes the day before, but bad weather forced everyone to spend the night. Now, on the 13th, the pilots decide to push through. The Andes mountain range is one of the most dangerous stretches of airspace in the world. The peaks are brutal, the weather changes in minutes, and the pilots, trying to navigate through a mountain pass, make a deadly miscalculation. They believe they have already cleared the mountains. They begin their descent. They haven't cleared anything. You are sitting in your seat when the plane suddenly shakes. Hard, not the normal turbulence kind of shaking. This is violent. People grab the armrests, someone screams, the plane drops, then the right wing clips a mountain. It snaps off instantly. The fuselage, the main body of the plane, tears through the snow at terrifying speed. It slides down the slope like a bullet, spinning, breaking apart until it finally slams into a snowbank and stops. Then the screaming starts. You open your eyes, you are still alive, you don't fully understand what just happened. The back of the plane is gone. The tail broke off during the crash. Snow is everywhere. The temperature is already dropping. You look around and see bodies. Some people are moving, some are not. Of the 45 people on that flight, 12 die in the crash or within hours of it. You are one of the 33 left alive. But being alive right now doesn't mean you are going to survive. The wreckage has landed at roughly 3,600 meters above sea level. That's over 11,000 feet. The Andes in October are already bitterly cold. At night, temperatures drop to minus 30 or 40 degrees Celsius. There is nothing around you but white. No trees, no shelter, no signs of human life in any direction. The fuselage becomes your home. You pile inside at night, bodies pressed together for warmth, using luggage and torn seat cushions to block the open ends where the tail used to be. It barely works. Every night feels like you might not wake up. The injuries among your group are serious. Broken legs, crushed ribs, head wounds. One of your teammates, who studied medicine before dropping out, becomes the group's makeshift doctor. He operates with no tools, no drugs, no training. He sets bones. He stitches wounds with copper wire from the plane's electrical system. He does what he can. The first thing everyone searches for is food. You find the emergency rations quickly, some chocolate, some crackers, a few small bottles of wine. It sounds like a lot until you count the mouths. 33 people. And these supplies, rationed to the absolute minimum, will last maybe a week. You search the luggage. You find more chocolate, some jam. You find some lip balm, which you eat because you are starving. It tastes like nothing and helps even less. By the end of the first week, the food is almost gone. You are on a mountain with no food, no rescue, and no way down. Then the radio changes everything, but not in the way you hope. 11 days after the crash, one of the guys manages to get a small transistor radio working. Everyone crowds around it. There is still hope at this point. Rescue teams have been searching. You know they must be looking. Then you hear the broadcast. The search has been called off. The rescue teams have given up. The authorities have concluded that nobody could have survived a crash at that altitude in those conditions. You are officially declared dead. Your families have been notified. Funerals are being planned. You sit in the broken fuselage on a mountain in the Andes, listening to the radio tell the world that you are dead, and you have to decide right now what you believe. Some people break. Some cry in a way they haven't cried yet. Not for the crash, not for the injuries, but for this, the moment you realize no one is coming. The grief hits differently when you understand you are completely alone. But something else happens too. A few of the stronger voices in the group, including a young man named Nando Parado, who nearly died from a head injury in the crash, stand up and say something simple. If no one is coming for us, then we have to go get them. We have to get off this mountain ourselves. That becomes the mission. But before you can go anywhere, you have to eat. There is no food left. There are no animals on this part of the mountain. Nothing grows here. The only source of calories available to you is the bodies of the people who died in the crash. The idea is raised quietly at first, then more openly. Then it becomes a conversation that the entire group has to have together. You talk about it, you argue about it. Some people say they would rather die than do it. Others say that the people who died would want you to survive, that it is not disrespect, it is the opposite. It is using their death so that your life can continue. There are religious debates, there are tears, there is silence, and then after days of starvation, the decision is made. You will eat. What follows is something that none of you ever speak about casually. It is done with as much dignity as possible. The bodies are treated with respect. No one is forced, but those who choose to eat do so, and it is the only reason any of you stay alive long enough for what comes next. You don't talk about this much, even decades later, but you never pretend it didn't happen. It happened. It kept you alive, and you made peace with it the only way you could, by surviving. You have been on the mountain for 17 days. Things are already as bad as you can imagine, and then they get worse. In the early hours of October 29th, an avalanche hits the crash site. You are asleep inside the fuselage when thousands of pounds of snow come crashing down the slope and bury you alive. People scramble in pure darkness and panic. Some are smothered immediately. The ones still awake claw and dig. It is completely black inside. You cannot breathe. The snow is pressing in from every direction. 8 more people die that night. You are now 19 survivors inside a tube of metal buried under an avalanche on a mountain where the world thinks everyone is already dead. You spend 3 days trapped under the snow before you dig your way out. 3 days, in the dark, with the bodies of the people who just died around you. With the temperature so cold that the snow that could have killed you is also the only thing insulating you from the wind outside. When you finally break through the surface and feel the sun again, it doesn't feel like relief. It feels like something harder than that. Like something in you has changed permanently. You are 19 survivors now, and it is time to get serious about getting off this mountain. The plan is straightforward. Someone has to walk out. You look around at the mountains and try to make sense of where you are. The problem is that when the plane descended too early, it crossed deeper into the Andes than the pilots realized. You are not near the edge of the mountains, but you are near the center of them. Chile is to the west, but west means going up and over enormous peaks with no equipment. Nando Parado, who has become one of the group's most determined leaders, volunteers to go. He lost his mother in the crash. His sister died in his arms a few days later. He has nothing waiting for him except the need to get home. Another survivor, Roberto Canessa, agrees to go with him. A third man, Antonio Vizentin, joins for part of the journey before turning back to conserve rations. On December 12th, 60 days after the crash, Nando and Roberto begin walking west. They have no proper gear. They have rugby cleats stuffed with wire for traction. They have makeshift snowshoes built from seat cushions. They have a sleeping bag made by stitching together insulation from the plane's interior. They carry small pieces of food that will last maybe a week if they are very careful. The climb is almost impossible. At the top of the first major peak, Nando looks out expecting to see green valleys and civilization below. Instead, he sees mountains. Nothing but mountains in every direction as far as the eye can see. A lesser person would have turned back. Nando looks at Roberto and says, "We keep going west." They climb down the other side and keep walking, day after day, exhausted, starving, sunburned, barely sleeping. Their lips are cracked and bleeding. Their bodies are eating themselves, but they don't stop. On December 20th, after 9 days of walking, Nando and Roberto spot something in the valley below. A man on horseback. They are on the opposite side of a rushing river. They shout, they wave. The man sees them but can't hear what they're saying over the water. He throws a piece of paper and a pencil across the river tied to a stone. Nando writes a single message. "I come from a plane that fell in the mountains. I am Uruguayan." The man reads it. He nods. He rides away. The next morning, 3 men on horseback arrive with food, and the day after that, Chilean rescue helicopters begin flying toward the crash site. Back on the mountain, the remaining survivors hear the helicopters before they see them. After 72 days, the sound is almost incomprehensible. Some people think they are hallucinating. Some people fall to their knees. Some people don't react at all. They have been waiting so long that their minds can't immediately accept that it's real. But it is real. Between December 22nd and 23rd, all 16 remaining survivors are airlifted off the mountain. 16 people out of 45 who boarded that plane.